Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Today I'm joined by Jennifer Ball, CEO and founder of Worthy Australia, an organisation transforming empty houses into beautiful, safe havens for women and children, rebuilding their lives after domestic violence. Jennifer, thank you for the work you do and thank you for being here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
So I kind of want to go into talking about the partnership that we've got through Living Rooms because I'm incredibly proud and grateful to have that partnership. But before we do, let's just take people through why Worthy started and a bit about what Worthy is. So firstly, what made you create this brand of Worthy?
So I did a lot of work in the DV sector in Queensland and over east. And I worked with a lot of different charities that did a lot of different things, but I always sort of felt let down by the quality of work and the quality of support for women and children. So for me, you know, women and children who flee domestic violence, they're survivors, they're strong, they're courageous, and they deserve beautiful things. They deserve a step up. They deserve a hand up rather than a hand out. And I just don't think that that's what women were getting. So I moved back to Perth. At the time, I didn't really know it, but I was in a DV relationship. I was quite young. I was in my 20s and I had my little boy. And I don't talk about this a lot. But I was in a DV relationship and I figured out that that's what I was in and I needed to get out of it. I was really lucky in the sense that I had a really good family. I had 3 sisters. I had a mum and a dad. I had great friends. I had a good job and a good boss, all who supported me and, you know, gave me time off work, helped me with this, helped me look for houses, helped me get on my feet. But I realised I was really lucky and that I had that support system and that a lot of women don't have that. And I realised how hard it is for women to leave violent relationships when they have nothing. If I couldn't have gone and stayed with my mum for a few weeks, if I didn't have the money to go and get a rental by myself and furnish that rental, you know, if I didn't have a good job and a good boss that went, have a couple of weeks off to sort yourself out, I wouldn't have been able to do any of it. And so that's where the idea for Worthy was born. I wanted to create this organisation that became somebody else's community. So these women and children who have been left with nothing, who often don't have their networks, who have been flown from over east or anywhere else in Australia to get away from violence, that they don't have that. So that's where the idea came from.
And for those who don't know what Worthy Australia do, can you give a bit of insight into what Worthy actually does?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with all of the major refuge organisations in Perth, sort of from Yanchep down to Peel. They refer to us when women and children who are currently in the refuge system have been given a house, 4 walls. So without our service, women either aren't able to move into those houses because they're empty and you can't move a family into an empty house. It's unsafe, it's unstable. Or they have to stay in refuge for extended periods of time. So all of our clients without our service would still likely be in refuge now. So we go in with 72 hours notice and we completely furnish the houses for the women and children. So we don't just put furniture in and walk away. The whole service is tailored to that family. So we look at who's the mum, what are her interests, who are the kids, what are they like, what are their ages, what are their favourite colours, what are their hobbies, and we tailor the house for them. So we have a team of volunteers and we go in and over 7 hours, or actually less than that now, it's down to like 3 hours we can do it now. I know. It used to take us 2 weeks, but we completely furnish the house and we style it as well. So our clients just walk in and they can begin living. They have everything they need from toiletries to kitchen appliances to beds, TVs, lounges, everything. And then we walk away and then they start their life.
Incredible. And that is how I first found you. I used to follow Worthy on social media and could see all the safe havens you were bringing to the market. And it felt aligned to what we were doing, because we were like co-living property number 50 or whatever it is, and your safe houses number 80, or I think you've done nearly 100. Like you're in 9.
We're at 88 today. There's one being set up as we speak.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
But I loved how well presented they all were, and it just made me, it kind of gave me the tingles, thinking, oh my goodness, like a family coming into that home that's probably never had that level of, I don't know, care, or you know, I feel like and these are words that you've said to me in the past about how maybe it's devalued they are as a person, and they don't understand why people would do that for them, and then to have this complete transformation so they can start living again.
I think with charity organisations, there's that sort of, I don't know if it's a stigma or a belief around charities that people are just get what they're given and be happy with it because they have nothing. Whereas I believe, and the organisation believes, and I hope people are starting to believe as well, that these women are worthy of more than that. That's where the name Worthy came from, because they are worthy of beautiful things. They are worthy of a home that they are proud of. When you have that, when you have this stable, beautiful home base that you're proud of, that's when healing can actually begin. You know, and I think if I'm a mum with children and I'm put into a house and I'm having to go to the side road collections to grab beds and mattresses and begging friends for things, which people do every day, where is that, like, okay, I've left this domestic violence relationship, I've done the work, I've gone into a refuge, now I can rebuild, but the mattress that I've been given is wee stained. The sofa's got holes in it. I can't afford a dining table. How do you get the courage and the self-worth and the hope to rebuild after that? It's difficult. It would be very difficult, and I know that firsthand. So yeah, that's what I think where we're a little bit different. We have such high standards of what we accept and what we put in the houses, the safe havens that we call them, because that's what they deserve. And that should be the standard of help that women and children receive.
I love that.
Yeah.
Take me back to the first one you ever did.
So I was working as a mental health nurse full time when I started Worthy, and I just started dating my now husband, Martin, and we'd actually just moved in together. And I said to him, we've got this idea of this charity, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we were working on it together. It took a good 6 months to a year of relationship building and trust building in the DV sector with the refugees for them to even refer to us. So we started doing, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'll get there. We started off doing like smaller collection drives, like toys, back to school, toiletries, to deliver to refugees so that we could, and that they kept seeing our faces. And, eventually I was like, hey guys, like, this is my idea, like, what do you think of this? And got into a couple of meetings with some executives at Arana House and Zonta House, and they put in a referral each. And we were like, okay, it's go time. So at this point, we don't have an office, we don't have a warehouse, we don't have storage space. Like, it's literally my garage. To this day, like, me and my husband still don't park our cars in our garage because we're so used to it being a storage space, even though it's not now. Like, we just don't go in. But that was the storage space, and the charity had no money. We did our, the first fundraising we had was money that me and my husband had put in, and a bake sale that we'd done at a football club. Like, it was that little, but we got an online presence quite quickly because people liked the idea of what we couldn't show them that we had done it yet, but they liked the idea of it. So we didn't have transport back then, so we had to hire a truck, and it was me and my husband going around and collecting all the donations from the community, and we'd store them in our garage, and then we would take them to the house. So we'd get the keys to the house, and at that point it was taking us, like, the whole process was taking 2 weeks because we didn't have stock. Like, we didn't have this pile up of stock that we could just get in a warehouse like we do now. So once we got the keys, it would take us a week lead up to plan and to push out for donations and collect, and then a week to set up as well. So we would just go in after work and put it together. Which
still feels like 2 weeks is still a really quick turnaround time. Probably not for what you're doing now.
Yeah, but we've got to think as well, like the women in the refuge, like, once they're given keys to a house, so they pay rent to live in refuge. Not a lot, but they pay money. But the minute they get keys to a house, they are paying rent in their new property as well. So now they're paying double. So back then, we couldn't do it fast enough. So we would be paying, not every time, because some of the times the refuges would go, okay, we'll pay their double rent because we want to wait for this service. But sometimes we would have to pay it. So the woman, she wasn't put out. She wasn't having to pay twice the rent because our operations weren't fast enough yet. But we did it. I look back at it now and I'm like, we've come so far. Like even the way that the houses were set up, they were nice. But now I'm like, well, I wouldn't accept that now. Yeah. We've got, we're so much better now. And it was just a great experience, really.
And tell me about the first handover you did. So did you meet the woman who you created this safe haven for?
Yeah. So at the beginning, we tried to limit contact as much as we could because we felt that it was safer for them. But now we realise that, well, no, actually, we support people for these clients. So we want to meet them and it's been really beautiful. Yeah, the first one, I used to do all the handovers because we didn't have many volunteers back then. Yeah. And I could, organise them between my nursing shifts and things. But the first one was a young Aboriginal woman and children, and it was just magical. And I knew what we were doing was life-changing, but until you see them and their responses and when they open that door, and having to remember that a lot of our clients have been in refuge for months, years. They haven't had their own beds. They've been sharing beds with their children, or their kids have been sharing beds, or they've been in a single bed. And they haven't had their own space, and they walk in and immediately it's overwhelmed, but in a really good way. That we haven't had a handover yet that hasn't been filled with tears from everyone, and it's just that feeling of, oh, this is mine. Is this mine? Why would you do this for me? And we're like, well, why wouldn't we do this for you? You're worthy of this the same as anyone else, if not more. And so it's just trying to prove to them that, no, no one's going to take this away from you. You are worthy of this. You've fought for this. You've taken your children away from violence and you've made this massive step to rebuild your life. And a lot of people don't do it or can't do it, and you've done this, you deserve this. And it's just, it's a really beautiful experience.
It's absolutely incredible what you do.
Thank you.
You say back then, but that wasn't even that long ago.
It was 2021 when we got our first safe haven. It feels like simultaneously like forever ago, but it really wasn't, because we've grown so quickly. And I think the reason for that is the quality of work that we do, and the fact that, yes, it's heavy. Yes, domestic violence is heavy and the sector is heavy, but what Worthy provides is hope. And I think that, and the way we present Worthy and everything is very intentional, that we don't want to be heavy. We acknowledge that it is horrendous and we shouldn't have to do it, but we want to make it light and show people that there is a way out and there are services like us. I can't remember the question.
Oh no, it was more about, it was only 2021.
Oh,
it
yeah.
feels like, a long time ago.
Yeah, we've grown so much, and but now the operations have improved so much through all this support that we've gotten from the community and from the private sector. We don't have any government funding. So we've been able to get a warehouse, and our volunteer team is at 180 or so now. We've got paid staff now, which we still need to improve and we still need to grow, but we can turn these houses over from referral to handover, 72 hours.
Yeah, that's
and we're in
amazing.
the houses for 3 or 4 hours.
And you've been able to attract, because of the brand that you've built and the work that you do, and people really believe and love what you do, you've been able to gain some really good partnerships.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk to some of the companies that are providing beds and things like that for you?
Yeah. So we partnered with Koala Furniture. We get weekly deliveries from them. They have a really great program where they, if you buy a koala sofa, for instance, and you bring it to your house and you're like, oh, it was the wrong colour, or you can return it within 24 days or 21 days or something. But they all come back in perfect condition, but they can't resell them, and then they give them to us.
Oh, that's great.
So we're giving our clients literally brand new koala sofas, brand new koala mattresses, because if you've had it in your house, you have to have used a cover on it. But if you don't for any reason, you return it as well. Some of them are brand new. Some of them haven't been used at all. It might just be that a tiny corner of it got scratched and you can't even see it. But we can take them because they're still amazing quality. They're perfectly clean. Do you know?
Yeah, which is another great example of an awesome partnership where that's not waste.
Yes.
And that's being put to good use.
Yes.
So it kind of feeds in that ecosystem as well. And it's going to a really good place.
Definitely. We've just had Sealy Furniture contact as well to help provide mattresses and beds, which is amazing. Our biggest funder is the Ian and Shirley Norman Foundation, which you've met Coralie and Tracy. Coralie's the CEO and Tracy's the president. They are still our biggest funder to date, and they started funding us at a time that most people wouldn't have for that amount of money, and they took a real risk with us. But they believed in me and they believed in the organisation, and 3 years later they're still our biggest funder. So,
and I witnessed to that. I heard them speak at your last event, and they do absolutely believe in you, and it's gorgeous to see that they not only believe in your vision, but it was more in you that they believed. So let's go back to that, because I think it's quite important that people really understand. And I think everything seems like, oh, that's just happened and it was so quick and it was easy and, you know, all that jazz. But you actually worked full time for a long time while doing Worthy on the side. And I think we only met early last year, and it was 2 weeks after that you actually stepped away from work that we actually met. So I know you'd gone to part-time at one stage and now you're able to go full-time. Talk us through that journey, because that is something that you didn't just start this and be able to give it your full focus, but you've managed to grow it at a time that my laptop's beeping at me and I'm now getting sidetracked. But you managed to still build a brand and this organisation that people loved and invested in when you were working full-time. So let's talk about that.
It was a huge challenge. And I remember when I first started it, you know, people say to me, oh, well, what if it gets too big? And I very naively said, and I laugh at myself now, but I very naively said, I'll only let it grow to the point that I can manage it while still working. And then, and then I won't let it grow any further. We can scale back referrals, blah, blah, blah. I very quickly realised that Worthy was not about me, and it never was about me, but I can't stop it. This is a service that's become so necessary and relied upon by so many organisations and so many women. It's relied upon by a massive pool of volunteers who now, you know, think of Worthy as their second job, and they've built friends through it and connections, and it's just become this whole thing that's so much bigger. And I realised that, okay, well, I can't stop it now. It's got a life of its own now. I was burning out, like, absolutely. I knew that I couldn't, especially my mental health job. I worked on a secure psychiatric ward, and it was a hectic job. It's not safe. It takes so much out of you every day. And I'd go to my shift, and then I'd come home and I'd be doing all the work for Worthy and setting up safe havens on my days off, and I was burning out. I was lucky that I had Martin, my husband, who was so supportive, and without him, I genuinely wouldn't have been able to do it. You know, I can't drive trucks and lift heavy furniture. He had to do those things, and he didn't have to, but he supported me. He was like, well, we're doing this. If this is so meaningful for you, I'm going to do it with you. But it got to the point where I knew that something had to give, but I wasn't in the position that I could not earn an income. You know, I've got, you know, my son, I've got the 2 stepdaughters, you know, my husband was in the Navy at that point. I was a nurse. Neither of those jobs are particularly well known for being highly paid. So, like, I needed a job. I needed to earn a living. So the conversation started in the board of, okay, well, how do we earn enough money that we can pay you or start paying people but still have enough money to run the organisation? And so I was literally just Googling funding organisations, and I came across the Ian and Shirley Norman Foundation. And they were New South Wales based, but they seemed to be really values aligned. So I'm like, you know what, it's not going to hurt. I'll just send an email. And I sent a lot of those emails, like 99.9% of them did not email back, but ISN Foundation did, and Coralie, their CEO, contacted, and we had a Teams meeting. And she loved the sound of what we were doing. She was like, well, pitch to me, put in a proposal and I'll put it to the board. Tell us exactly what you need. And because I was like, oh, well, I could probably get away with this. And she's like, no, tell me exactly what you need. Don't downplay it. Exactly what you're. So I did. And, well, I asked for part-time funding because I thought at that point we were so little. There's no way that anyone's going to give me full-time funding or that I deserve that at the moment. That's what I felt. I was like, no, I'll ask for part-time. And they came back and they said yes. And I was at a safe haven at the time. I'll never forget it. And we just realised that the mattress that we'd bought into the safe haven was the wrong size for the bed. Because at that time we still didn't have like a warehouse or storage, so I wasn't able to measure anyway. And I just sat and cried, and I'm like, but it was a guilt as well. There was guilt at the time because I'm like, oh, like, why should I be paid for this? This is a volunteer position. But it was, again, a very naive thought because you need to do this work full time.
Well, a similar thinking to what you tell the women who are coming into these safe havens, right?
Yes.
They don't think they're worthy of that, and you actually that's
Yeah.
what you're believing in yourself, and you're
Yeah.
helping a situation that, you know, it's an incredible idea that nobody else was doing, giving a family a home, you know.
Yeah. It's and I have to remind myself that a lot, that like I can't sit here with a worthy shirt on and tell other women that, hey, no, you are worthy of this if I don't feel that myself. And that's the work I've had to do within myself as well. But yeah, so they agreed to the funding, and then I knew they'd taken a risk, and I knew we were little, and I knew I had to prove myself. But we did. And so I had 2 years of part-time funding, but within that time our income grew 300%. Our volunteer base grew from like 20 to 160. We were getting more referrals and more referrals. So then at the end of that 2 years, it got to the point that, okay, I'm burnt out again. I'm still working as a nurse. And I said to Coralie and Tracy, that's where I am now. I need to be full time. Can you? And I was genuinely even though we had this amazing relationship, and I call them like my fairy godmothers, because it's not a typical funding partnership where you have to write reports every 2 minutes, and it's just it's like a supportive. It's like, obviously I have to prove myself, but like not in a really like stressful way. Anyway, I asked them and they said yes, and now they fund my position full time.
Incredible. But it's just a reflection of the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
I want to dig into a story that you may have. So an example of a family or a situation that...
Sorry to sniff.
Okay, but something that reminds you of why this really matters. You know, like, is there a story or a family that you can talk to us about?
Gosh, so many. There's one that will always, and it was one of the earlier families that we supported. And again, it was at the time where I knew the work was important, obviously, but this sort of really made me realize, okay, it's a big deal what we're doing. So there was a family who had been living in the house that they'd been given for, I think it was between a month or 2 months. They'd been living there a significant amount of time. They'd been in a refuge, and they were given this house, and they couldn't turn it down. And for some reason or another, they were put in this house with nothing in there. And there was a mum and 2 little children. They were about 4 years old. I remember them being about the same age as my son at the time. And the outreach organisation referred to us and said, look, they're living in this house. They're sort of giving up hope. They don't have anything. They're sleeping on the floor. Can you help? Of course, yeah. So we went in, and I'll never forget it. There was nothing in the house. And remembering they'd been living there for a good amount of time. On the lounge room floor, there were just blankets that had been sort of folded into what looked like a makeshift mattress. So it was like thick enough to sort of act as a mattress. It wasn't, but that's obviously what they were trying to do. There were more blankets rolled up as pillows, and there was an esky which had like milk and food in it. But the thing that gets me is that there were these 2 little like children's lunch boxes, and they had remnants of cereal in them. And the support worker said to me, Mum can't afford plates, so the kids eat the cereal from the lunch boxes, and then she rinses them out, and then they take them off to kindy. And I remember just looking around going, this woman, and I knew her story, she'd come from a good background. Like, she had a good house, she'd had a mortgage, and she'd been left with nothing. There was financial abuse, there was coercive control, all of the things that come with so she'd been left with literally nothing. And I remember thinking, this is why women find it so difficult to rebuild and move on after violence, because if that's me with my kids lying there, then that is not a good outcome. And I'm thinking, well, if I go back, at least my kids have beds. At least I can put their cereal in a bowl, And I remembered thinking, well, this is Perth. Like, this is happening. We are seeing the very tip of the iceberg for referrals to us at that point, because we were so young as an organisation. This is happening everywhere, and it's not good enough. And that really sort of like lit the fire within me. I was like, well, no, like, we're doing this, and we're going to grow this organisation, and we're going to help every person that's referred to us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this I remember being at a DV talk a few years back, and it was by one of the refuges that had put it on to try and encourage property managers to, I guess, put to the top of the pile applications from women coming out of refuge, because otherwise they're going back to their perpetrator. Yeah. But you saying that, telling that story, you can understand why. Yeah. And then the statistic was that, you know, 1 woman a week is killed by their partner or ex-partner. Yeah. And this is because people have to go back to violent situations. Yeah. And, you know, you said you want to help everybody, but you have to still turn down referrals, don't you? You can't, without more funding, donations, backing. But really, we want everybody coming out of refuge to be able to have a safe haven. But that takes time and that growth. Tell me about, like, because it is heavy work that you do, and I love that you put a positive spin on it as that hope, which is glorious. Yeah. But to actually be behind the scenes and have to actually say no because you can't fulfill them, that must be hard.
That was the one part of this work that really weighed on me. So in the early days, you know, 2021, or actually up until end of 2023, I was also the role of safe haven coordinator, because we didn't have anyone. So, you know, you wear a million hats. So I would be reading every single referral that came in, and it got to the point where we were having to triage them, and none of these women were less worthy than the other of support, and they all had these horrifying backstories. They'd gone through hell. They were in refuge. They'd got this house, but we can only at that point, and even so, we can do 1 a week now, and that, you know, we're at almost at capacity. We're almost pushing into being able to do 2. Operationally, we can do 2 a week. It's the funding that stops it. But at the time, we were doing 1 a month, 1 a fortnight. And even now, I get sent 3 referrals. Which one should we do? And I'm like, one woman is, you know, a young Indigenous mum with 3 children who are currently living in a refuge. The other is someone who's been couch surfing but can no longer do that because there's no more couches left for them to surf, and then they're going to have to go back. But she's got a newborn baby, you know, and you're like, okay. And one's in refuge, so she's safe, but she's got the keys to this house now, so she has to get out of refuge. So her and her 4 children, including a 2-year-old neurodivergent child, has to go into an empty house. Who do you give help to? And how do you make that decision?
Oh, you see, and that would kill me. That would be sleepless nights for me.
And it is. It still is, and that's when it becomes really heavy. You know, we're lucky now that we can take more, and we do have better capacity to go, well, we can do yours in 3 weeks because we've already got 2 here, but we can pay your rent for those 2 weeks. Whereas a year ago, we didn't have that. But without continued funding and without more partnerships, we still have to turn so many away.
Yeah. Which is heartbreaking.
Oh, it's horrendous.
And there's more that needs to be done. And I feel, you know, you touched on it earlier, you don't have government funding, and I truly believe that privately we can all support and make more of a difference together. 100%. So I think the more people you have on board who know your mission, who are aligned with your mission, you know, there's so many people out there that would love to give support. They just don't know where to turn to. Yeah. And, you know, you've got a huge volunteer base, so you don't need people to come down and build. You need the money. Yeah. You need the money. You need them to be able to cover rent for people. You need them to be able to purchase the items for the houses. And this it's a big thing that we have a huge influx of organisations wanting to corporate volunteer, which is so lovely, but it actually and we're trying to facilitate as many of them as well, but it puts a strain on the organisation because we're having to organise them on days that we wouldn't normally. We're having to organise teams that don't work with us. We're having to, you know, make sure that they are all. We have so many safety and privacy and confidentiality processes and policies. Having to make sure all of those are covered. So yes, it's amazing that teams want to come in and help, and we absolutely welcome them. I'm not trying to downplay that, but we need organisations to come in and go, hey, like, let's fund. We'll come and build it, but we'll also fund it. Yeah, a bit like living rooms.
yes, exactly like
so
living rooms.
So we'll move on to that.
And you're the only company that's done that. That said, hey, we'll come and build it, but we'll pay for it.
Yeah, awesome. And our clients. So just for the listeners, I'll kind of go back as to this partnership that we've got that I really want to evolve. And I don't just believe in worthy, but I believe in you too. You know, Jen and I have only met probably 12 months ago. But I just really see that we can support each other in what
100%.
we're trying to achieve in the market and for the community. And I reached out, and I remember I put Jen on such a pedestal. I was like, I want to contact her, but she might be just like, who are you?
It's so funny. When you contacted me, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to meet with this like powerhouse woman. What am I going to say? Like, genuinely, I was so nervous. I was like shitting myself coming to meet you, because I saw you as that.
It's so interesting, isn't it? But as soon as we did, and as soon as we kind of chatted, I think we could have just chatted for ages, and just so aligned in our thinking. And you know, you have done some incredible work in your space, and I know that you want to do more and more. And all the time, you know, the housing that we provide is for a wide range of people. Yeah. But we just see this desperate need in the market for so many women, vulnerable women. Yeah. There's women who are in the 50 plus, which is the fastest growing demo of homelessness. You know, there's a lot of support, but it becomes more than just being having a place to stay. And that's what aligns with us at Living Rooms, because it's not just about creating that home. It's like, what do we put in there? How do they feel like they've got that dignified place to live? Everyone, when you say share housing or co-living, they just think student accommodation, couch surfing kind of feel. And that's why, aligned with you, no, we really consider the products that we put in there. Like, everyone has to feel like, wow, this is a place that I want to live and feel good, because it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. So how can we get on that where you're surrounded by good things and you can therefore turn up short better for yourself.
100%.
So I love that. So when we spoke and I said, right, I want us to do a safe haven, let me reach out to all of the landlords. So all the properties we manage, I'll reach out to them, see if anyone will donate. We had people just, oh my God, would love to. And we didn't, we literally sent one email. So I think next time we do that, we'll be, you know, I'll be hitting them up more, but they're anticipating it now. There's a lot of people that rang me and said, this is so close to me. I've either been through this myself or as a child. This is what my mother went through. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that resonate. And even if it didn't, they just think it's unbelievable, the work that you're doing. And we were able to fully fund all the furniture. The team went down. And that's what I want every time. I want every time we do a project with you, for it to be from Living Rooms. You know, it's the power of the team. It's our clients that give so generously that will make sure we don't have to tap into any of your donation base, because we need, like you saying, I don't want you to turn those people down. Like that's heartbreaking, and obviously we can't help with all of them. But the more organisations that can do that, can partner and support.
And that's the thing. If everybody did what you did and said, hey, we'll come and build it, but you know, we will. I mean, you guys raised a ridiculous amount of money for that. I actually can't remember. It was like, was it 12 or 15,000? Which is unheard of. But imagine if every business did that. And we could do more. We could do more. We could do 2 or 3 a week.
And that doesn't have to then tap into your logistics like the corporate volunteers, even though they're great. It just needs to be, the money needs to be there, and it, you know, get shit done kind of attitude. So I love that. So we did the first one with you, and that was actually in... it was the Department of Communities that came and needed a safe haven completing. So we did the first safe house in the Fremantle area. I'm allowed to say that amount of information. And it was, I mean, I love doing it. I did all the furniture planning, buying all the furniture. And I just loved the fact that, I mean, and it did. I was like, oh my God, we've got to create these like rooms for children, which we don't do in the living room side of it. So that really, really warmed my heart. But absolutely loved being able to do that, but also loved how much our clients wanted to be a part of it. So we will be doing more and more.
And I think, particularly with Worthy, there aren't many people that I've met, or anyone in Worthy has met, where they've heard about what we do and they go, that's a bad idea. Everybody loves it. Everybody that sees us, I mean, we've had no marketing budget, so we need to increase the amount of people that see us, right? But people want to support the work we do, and it's so important. So, I don't know who's listening, but if you are, you know, whatever business that you know that you're a part of, you know, this is how you can help.
Throw money at it, but also if you're a marketing agency, we've got friends who are in marketing. If anybody can help with brand awareness, doing ads for you guys, it's kind of those. It's not the volunteers you've got in abundance. It's actually the things that cost you money that you just need to get out there.
100%. And so something that people don't realise with charity organisation, and there is a big stigma with charities. They go, oh, what percentage of your donations do you use for operational costs? Do people get paid? You know, do you pay for marketing? As if these are really bad things. And it's so frustrating because you have to you're running like any other business. It's just the money goes to a different place, you know, and you know, without people, haven't heard from you. Well, that's because we don't have a marketing budget. But if you have one, then people get upset at you. And it's like, oh, you can't win.
Well, that brings me back to when I first met you and you said, oh, I have to disclose that I actually get paid.
It felt like a horrendous thing. I thought you were going to be like, get out.
I know. I was like, and so you should. Like, you're not going to be able to do what you
Yeah.
need to do without that funding. And I think, again, that's where people fall off because they give their whole self, but then they're not holding themselves up.
I think my guilt came from, obviously I'm not going to disclose which organisation or who, but I was part of an organisation and the founder she was the CEO as well. She was getting paid, and that's fine. But no one knew about it, and it was done. And it was the organisation was advertised as 100% volunteer run. No one gets paid, and it filtered out into the volunteer group that actually she's getting paid, but because it wasn't done transparent, it was just the way it was done. Yeah. A lot of people left, and people weren't happy, and so with Worthy, I was like, okay, I have to be really transparent with this. And there were some people that weren't happy with it. So there were some volunteers that went, see ya.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of them went, yeah, well, of course.
The more work you can do, more the actual organisation benefits.
Yeah, and I think and you know, I will say that to a lot of even funding organisations, they don't want to look at funding positions, like paid positions. But I feel like it's so backward thinking.
It is.
Because how are you supposed to make the impact if you're relying on Kathleen, who works 40 hours a week and who can and has 2 kids, who can only give you 2 hours? But if you were paying her full time, she could run your full operations. You could do more. You could, do you know? It just it doesn't make any sense. And I'd love to get that message out there. And on my Instagram, I've been trying to, you know, get things out, not Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, fund the things that fund the parts of organizations that allow the impact.
Because the more you can fund it, the more impact you make.
For me, it's not rocket science, but And I've had, I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but, you know, I've had applying for grants and they said, we'll fund this position, but only for a year, but you have to prove, like in black and white, how you will fund this position for the 2 years after. I'm like, well, it's a fundraising and partnerships position that will
then be the one to go out to get it.
Yeah, that will help. So, like, how can I do that? Anyway.
Yes.
But, yeah, so supporting parts of the organisation that help it run is, you know, ensure it can run is vital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that leads me on to what's next. What's next for Worthy?
What's next for Worthy? We've spent the last year really establishing our foundations because we grew so quickly. And because we didn't have people, you know, I was working part-time, blah, 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 we didn't get our foundations right. But there was the pressure of the demand for the service kept increasing. And we had to sort of stop and go, when are you expanding? When are you doing this? We can't, because we can't even fill the referrals that we have in Perth. So we've spent a lot of time there, you know, establishing the foundations. Now we're at a stage where we can, over the next 12 months, look at expanding because we're getting referrals from regional WA. I'm getting emails from Melbourne and Newcastle. Obviously, that's a long way away. But, yeah, offering this service to women in regional areas who are very vulnerable because they're not close to services and things aren't offered to them that they are in metro. So that's what's next. We're also, with Worthy, I always wanted it to be, from the very beginning, I had this vision of it being like a one-stop shop for women who were just coming out of that acute crisis point of domestic violence. So the Safe Haven program is incredible. It gives them that base, but what else do they need? You know, do they need financial education? Do they need support to get jobs? Do they need resume writing? Do they need more counselling? Because you can't tell me that women that are coming out of lifelong DV do not have CPTSD, PTSD, anxiety, all of these things. 100% they will have at least one of them, likely. Who's helping them with that? And do you, as a survivor, have the mental capacity to go, okay, I need this and I need this and I got to go here to this and where do I find that? I want it to be all in one organisation. So, and this is a longer term plan, but that's the way I want Worthy to go as well.
I am smiling here because we are going to go offline soon and we're having lunch and we're chatting to all of those points that I've got connections with that want to talk to you about it.
Oh, amazing.
So that's, partnerships, purposeful partnerships is how we can grow and achieve our missions. Yeah. And I think that brings me on to my next question of what does beyond four walls mean for you? Because you're already thinking that it's not just about the safe haven.
100%. I actually, years and years ago, I went to a seminar in Queensland about the refuge system and the piece they actually put forward was called More Than Just a Bed, right? So it starts in the refuge system. You know, you can't just provide four walls. You know, that's not a home. That's an empty property. That's not where survivors should go, and it's not where healing can begin. It's not where anyone can thrive. And women who are coming out of these situations, and children, and men, if they've experienced domestic violence, you know, they need a home, and without a stable base you can't rebuild. And I think that's sort of what that means to me. For me, I'm a very house proud person, and a lot of people are. Doesn't matter if you've been left with nothing or you've not had anything, you can still be proud of the home that you're part of, that you're in. And I genuinely believe that a beautiful, healing, like relaxing space is such a benefit in mental health. And I think that's what that means to me.
I agree. All right, I'm going to wrap up there. The work you do is incredible.
So
you're an incredible human and you're onto doing amazing things, and I can't wait to kind of be part of that journey with you. For anybody that you want, whoever wants to support you, how can they reach out? How can they support?
So our website is worthyaustralia.org. Otherwise, our social media handles are at worthyaustralia. Just reach out, send us an email, message us on the socials, and we'll get started.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.